Welcome to Smart Parents, Successful Students, the podcast that helps parents like you guide your children toward academic confidence and success. I'm your host, Helen Panos, and I'm here to share expert tips, proven strategies, and inspiring stories that make the journey to school success a little smoother for both you and your student. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Smart Parents, Successful Students podcast. I'm your host, Helen Panos, and I am glad you are here again for season 15. And we have another guest. Her name is Meisha Marshall. Welcome to the show, Meisha.
Thank you, Helen. I'm excited to be back.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you are back. I know we've had you a while ago, but gosh, your company is changing and growing as we speak. That's great news.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited.
So I know your company is called Renew Mindset.
Correct.
And I know we can find you on Instagram and Facebook. And I am going to introduce you to our audience. Meisha is the founder of Renew Mindset Coaching, where she helps parents who grew up with divorce create more closeness, steadiness, and emotional safety in their relationships. Her work focuses on the everyday moments, miscommunications, shutdowns, and small disconnects that leave couples feeling tired and alone, even when they care deeply. Meisha offers practical, realistic tools that help relationships feel lighter, more connected, and easier to stay in because you're all the relationship going. Yes. You're not a divorced person. You're not. Yep. You're the opposite, which is terrific. Great to hear. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. To keep it short, I'll say that once I started getting into coaching and was exploring, like, who do I want to serve? What came to me was adult children of divorce and couples. And I thought it was actually kind of strange. Like, how am I sure is that who I want to serve? But I will say, after a couple of weeks, I really was able to see myself, because my parents, actually, I was born out of wedlock. And so that's what took me a while to catch up to it, because they never married. However, I experienced a lot of the same issues and complications that people experience when their parents do get married and are divorced. Aside from that, my dad's been married 3 times. My mom has been married and divorced. And so I really realized, hey, there's value, not just for what I'm creating for my family, but for other people out there, forgive me, who want to change the narrative of that family generational line of divorce, right? Mm-hmm. Because those families that do see divorce, it's kind of prevalent in the sense that everybody who gets married intends for it to be lasting, but that family experience and dynamic doesn't really have the pieces to understand how to have a healthy marriage, how to encourage other family members who are going through the ups and downs of marriage so that it can be lasting. And that how piece is so important. And it's not taught in schools, and it's not taught in media. And where else are you going to get it if you're missing all of those pieces? So that's why I exist, to help people put those pieces together, see the gaps, and then be able to address the gaps successfully.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I definitely couldn't have said that better myself. That's really a great journey. So how does the health of the couple's relationship shape a child's sense of safety and confidence, even when parents think they're hiding stress well? That's a good question, huh?
Yeah, because you kind of have different families. I see like pockets of families that don't hide stress well, and the blow ups and all of that energy the kids see on a regular basis and experience. And then you have the other side that's like, let's not let little Timmy know, what's going on. However, energy is felt
Mm-hmm.
always. Energy is felt always. And I've even heard people share with me like, I never saw my parents fight, but the energy in the house, I knew something was going on. And so when they told me that they were getting divorced, I wasn't surprised. And there was some relief there, even because of the dynamic it created in the house.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, um, how do you make sure that you have a healthy way of addressing conflict? Well, I say there's a couple of things. Don't be shy about growing, of having personal development for yourself first and then for your relationship. Because when you show up different, everybody sees and feels it, right? Your spouse is going to feel a difference in the way you guys interact. Your children will see how you're modeling the difference in the way you interact. And so that should be number one. But also, I think when you have conflict, it's okay to say what it is, right? But learn how to handle the conflict differently. So if you're going to start with the step and you know that you guys maybe, do you guys know, I'm going to say stonewalling. Not everybody knows that terminology, stonewalling. But it's one way where people could see and feel like I'm hiding something, right? So with stonewalling, that basically means it's like the silent treatment, right? I'm
Yes.
not going to talk to my partner and I'm just going to go and do my own thing. So instead of defaulting to I'm going to stonewall, what could be a better way to navigate that doesn't make your partner feel like you're avoiding them and doesn't put your child in a weird spot, like, hey, Dad, Mom said you wanted, right? As
Yes.
you're navigating that stress.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, adults have to be careful, right? Because they're always
Mm-hmm.
watching,
Kids are,
and they're always trying to, play the other parent. Let's say.
mm-hmm.
You probably hear a lot of this, right, Misha?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you deal with a lot of families where they bring up the whole thing of, what I just said, basically, where the kid is watching and they're starting to maybe imitate behaviors, or I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, usually when parents come to me, they'll say things like, I know we're doing this, and I don't want our kids to model that. That's usually
Yeah.
the language that I hear most often, and not necessarily what they're seeing in their children. They just know that there could be a better way, and it starts with them.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting because I think back in the way we were raised, you're a little younger than me, but I don't even think our parents knew they're talking one way or another. They're just doing it. My mom actually, she knew Greek, right? And my grandmother was around earlier on before she passed, but they would speak in Turkish because she was born in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And so they knew we knew Greek. So they would start speaking in Turkish because they knew we didn't understand that. So they
Right.
had another language they could use.
Right. So you're like, something's going on. Yeah.
Like, Mom, as we got older, you don't have to talk that way. We know you're hiding something. That's pretty funny. That's what kind of came to light. I guess they did realize that we're listening even back then, but I don't know
Right.
you to change or that it would have.
And when you think about like culturally how things have shifted, the idea of kids are to be seen and not heard was a real thing, right? So it's like even if you were around, at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily want you to comment or cared what you had to say, and really you could just go in the other room so adults
Right.
can have their adult conversations, right?
Right. Now everybody's all around
Yeah.
involved. So what are some common communication patterns between partners that kids quietly absorb, and how can couples shift those patterns in everyday moments?
There's two that stand out to me and they hurt my feelings whenever I see them. One is shutting down, right? when you see your partner shut down and it's like
Uh-huh.
you can't get through to them and you need to talk, but they're like preventing you from like resolving anything. That I see a lot with couples. And oftentimes they will be able to say, hey, dad, I saw that, right? Um, and what happens is the parent actually doesn't know how to express what they're feeling, or being vulnerable was not modeled. And so it feels so awkward that they hold it. Well, when your child gets married and they model that same behavior, that's going to create a rift in their marriage,
Mm.
right? And that skill really has to be modeled and taught. That's one of those that has to be taught. The other one that hurts my feelings is it's the opposite of that. It's when the parent goes chasing the other spouse in the house, confronting them, letting them know they're not done with the conversation.
Oh no. Yep. Somebody has to have the last word.
Oh man, that one's hard too. Because at the end of the day, they want to be heard and they want to be seen and they want to be understood, but they're not communicating it in a way that's going to get them the results they want,
Right.
right? You can push, push, and push. Maybe they'll tell you what you want to hear at the end of the day, but you are going to feel a little bit of a disconnect in that connection because it wasn't done in a way that both could receive it well.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that case, um, what comes up is how do you slow down enough so that your partner can catch their breath and you can really have the conversation you want
Mm-hmm.
to have, right? How do you talk to your partner and say, hey, this is important to me. When are we going to have this conversation? As long as I know when we're going to have it, I will
Right.
back off. But don't
Right.
go running. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. I think that might be the woman in most cases that might have to say the last word. I'm gonna guess that 90% of the
It,
time.
I would say about 90% of the time it is the woman. I have had clients where it is the man and the woman shuts.
Oh wow.
Mhm,
Interesting too. Yeah, I'm sure that happens too.
mhm.
Yeah, but I would agree that if you were to tell me, if I was in that conversation and you were to say to me, hey, this is not a good time, let's wrap this up and talk about it again, tomorrow or later on this evening.
Mhm,
Kids are gone. We know they're going to be gone.
mhm.
And now we can sit down calmly, face to face, having a conversation about, okay, that didn't go well. How can we approach this differently next
Right.
time? Yeah. Because
Because most of the time, people just want to know the conversation is going to be had,
right.
right?
It's true.
And that's the bigger issue. It might feel hard or uncomfortable. It might be weird at first, but when you know you're going to get what you want at the end of the day, it's worth it. You can
Hmm.
figure it out.
Now, what happens if the person that's usually shutting down doesn't receive that, doesn't want to have a conversation later? How do you approach getting them to do that? Is that
Right? Because you have different partners. You have those that really do have a lot of ingrained, maybe trauma, fear surrounding the death. I work with adult children of divorce, right? That's my heart space. So that means I see a lot of couples who are afraid of making things worse because they don't want their marriage to end in divorce. And so they kind of clam up when it happens because they want their partner to stay.
mhm, mhm.
So I will say most people, they do want that connection. And when your energy calms down, they're at least open to have the conversation. Like, hey, babe, I noticed that when we have hard conversations, you shut down and it's really hard to get, the conversation moving towards a resolution.
Mhm,
Is that difficult for you too? And
mhm.
they're probably gonna be like, yeah, well, what's like one thing we can do so that we get a little closer to resolution to where you don't shut down, but I don't feel like we never have the conversation? What's something we can do? And then from there, you just explore together, right? I think couples forget that you actually have the freedom to create the relationship you want to create, which means if you test out, like, you think about when you're a kid and you're like, I want to be a fireman. No, I want to be a teacher. Like, our exploration and the way we want to be creative and seek out new things, they evolve all the time. But we don't bring that into our relationship. That creativity right? Like, oh, could we try it this way, honey? Oh, well, that didn't give me the result I want. Well, let's try it this way. Like it leaves that space. And when it does, that's why so many people feel stuck, because they forget that we need to have that same kind of curiosity in
Uh-huh.
our dynamic with our partner.
I'm gonna throw this in there. It's an extra question. So because
Yes.
I
Okay.
used AI myself yesterday to try to help somebody with a situation. So what
Mm-hmm.
do you and I thought it did pretty well, but I'm pretty good at being a critical thinker. So I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting that everybody uses AI,
Yeah.
because sometimes it doesn't give correct information. But so what's your impression of if somebody's in the heat of a moment, something like that, and they're not, they don't have these skills, let's say, to
Mm-hmm.
do exactly what you just said. So would AI be a good go-to temporarily before maybe reaching out to somebody like Amisha? Or what would you suggest other
I
than
love this question. Um, Thanks for pivoting. No. So here, honestly, I'm a fan of AI. I think that if in the moment you're like, hey, this conversation went down, I don't know how to respond, what's something I can say? AI is great for that,
it
right?
is?
It'll get you unstuck. You can have an opportunity to have a do-over in a sense, right? With the conversation.
Mhm.
Now, big picture, it's a lot that it's not saying. So if you're
Right.
talking about, I want to stop patterns,
Hmm.
having a third party come in is going to be a lot more useful of your time. I can see gaps. Woo, couple sit down. I'm like, this is your gap. Boom, 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 boom. This is your plan,
Right.
right? Because of the kind of conversations that I have, I'm able to see the big picture and the small picture. AI is really good for small picture,
Hmm.
right? So oftentimes I worry about people who lean on it so heavily in mental health,
Right.
because one, it's going to tell you what you want to hear, which may not be the healthier approach.
Hmm.
Two, um, it's so narrow that it's not giving you a more rounded insight on the better way to handle the situation
Right.
and to stop the
And it would have to know probably much more specifics about personalities. And sometimes it'll ask that, right? But not
pattern. I mean,
not to a
you
point that a therapist or
you would
somebody
have to be so good at how you ask your question to the
right.
AI, right? Because you would have to say, what questions do you need to know so you can look at the big picture so you can help me? And still, it's going to have different limitations at this point than dealing with a
Uh-huh.
professional.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, that's a great answer, Misha. Considering I just threw that out there. So one more. How can couples model healthy conflict and repair in front of their kids without oversharing or creating fear?
I love this question. Okay, so one of the things that I tell my couples um, is it's okay to have conflict in front of your children. In fact, they need to see it, but
Mhm.
with parameters, right? Because what they need to see is how to resolve conflict.
Mhm.
So to have conflict in front of your kids is not a bad thing, as long as you also introduce to them, how do you guys work through it? How do you overcome this challenge? What's conversation starters that you guys use to soften things and reconnect? A lot of people that I work with struggle with what it looks like to reset and reconnect with your
Mhm.
partner. And I can tell you firsthand, my mom wanted so badly to protect me from seeing what her and my stepdad were doing behind the scenes, right? Any
Mhm.
conflict they had.
Right.
But because of that, I learned from my friends who are also adult children of divorce, which means I learned some really bad dating, like communication skills,
Oh wow.
right? I didn't necessarily know how to navigate that. It took me some time. It took me to be with my husband, my partner now, to learn those skills. So I will say, it could look like this. uh, in front of your kids. You know what? Let's slow down because I don't want this to escalate. Like, us having connection is more important. When is a better time for us to have this discussion? So if you're in the middle of something, you could say something like that. If you're coming back and your kids are around, it's okay to say, honey, I'm sorry for blowing up. I want to get better with that, right? How could I have approached you differently? Now your kids are hearing you guys brainstorm together, right? So those things are still important. Do they need to hear and see everything? Nope, absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But for you to model conflict is huge, because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, and it may not be to their benefit.
Yeah, it might be social media or
and that's all drama.
Movies or TV series.
Exactly.
That's probably what we used to use, I think.
I mean, really, I watched my friends in relationships. My friends had relationships before I did, and I saw how they handled themselves and how they got snappy. And that's exactly how I showed them.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, though. Yeah, I agree, because I think part of the problem is we're lacking critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. What you just described is problem solving.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't see different variations of that, then how do you know what's good and what's bad?
If my parents had did that for me, then when I saw my friends do it, I wouldn't have said, oh, that's how you respond. I would have said, hey, friend, why are you responding that way? Did you know if you tried this, you would get this, right?
Yeah. Yes. That's true. Wow. Well, how can people reach out to you and, so they can talk to you? And do you do virtual mainly? Do you
absolutely virtual.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks to technology, right? That is an option. So I do in-person and virtual sessions for people who are looking for a stronger connection with their partner, or skills on how to have better communication, because that is the number one reason why most people come see me. But I would love to invite your listeners to go on my website, renewmindset.com, and join my newsletter. Because my newsletter has tips for couples, right? It has encouragement. Like, we all need something positive in our feed from time to time. And so that is what this is intended to do. I will say it is a bi-weekly newsletter, and I did that on purpose because we have enough to do. Parents have enough to do that it should be something simple but still impactful and not feel overwhelmed, right?
Right. Cool. So that's renewmindset.com. And does it have a pop-up where they'll see immediately where the newsletter is?
That's a great question. It doesn't have a pop-up, but I mean, you scroll down just a smidge and it'll be right there.
Okay. And we will have that link in the show notes for you all. Y'all can just click on that. But thank you very much, Meisha, for your time. I appreciate you coming back on and sharing this great knowledge with our families. It's all very good and valuable information. Reach out to her. She's in, how far out do you go in person? You're in the Roswell area, is that correct?
I'm in the Roswell area. So I do surrounding, but people can come to me. So it doesn't necessarily matter, right?
Okay. Okay. And so they can reach out to you through renewmindset.com as well.
Yeah, or on my socials, for sure.
Yeah, Instagram and or Facebook, correct?
Correct.
Yay, great. Terrific. Well, thank you very much for your time again. And everybody, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Smart Parents Successful Students podcast. If you found today's episode insightful, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out our YouTube channel for even more tips to help your student thrive. Until next time, keep guiding your children towards success.